Streaming services like Apple TV are changing how television and movie content is created, consumed, and classified as successful, or not. Changes an agile medium like podcasting can learn from. Hello and welcome to another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. Someone at Apple TV has managed to tap directly into my amygdala because the new lineup of shows seem tailor-made to my tastes. But it was podcasting I was thinking of as I was flipping through my options the other day on Apple TV Plus, because it sure seems like every show on Apple TV Plus was trying to get me to listen to their companion podcast. And I'm sure those are great and fine, but my thoughts were less about what Apple's doing with podcasting, because come on, and much more about what podcasters can learn from Apple TV Plus specifically. But first, a quick reminder or notice for the brand new people. Hi, new people. After this episode today, there'll be 2 more episodes this week, and then I take my long winter's nap, which will last for a few weeks. So, if you don't have new content from me, which you will not after a couple of days, plenty of time to go back through my back catalog. I got, 500 plus episodes? Anyhow, lots more for you to get inside of there. Right, there's that. But now let's get into the 4 lessons with Apple TV Plus for podcasters. Lesson number 1, make a manageable amount of bets. A lot of companies think about big bets often, and I understand that, but manageable is the key here. Now, it's important to have new content, podcaster, yes, but it's not the only, nor is it the most important thing. You can make a bet on a new genre, expand on that genre once you've learned it really, really well, and then go off and try a different genre, learn that genre, expand on that, and do more things there. That's what Apple TV Plus seems to be doing with a lot of the shows that they own. Podcasters could think about doing that as they're building out their own network, possibly. You know, it's more than just spin-offs, which is what television has done for the longest time. There's also probably a play in there, some value for podcasters who don't want to build a network, who can think about doing things different with their individual episodes. But of course, that will need to be played correctly and with some serious thought before you go too far afield. The second thing I think that podcasters can learn from Apple TV Plus is to invest for the audience. We talk a lot about audience here on the show. Now, you might not have, in fact, I bet you do not have, $200 million to drop on a new television series. Wow. Or more precisely, you probably don't make north of $20 billion a quarter, which allows you the ability to drop $200 million on a brand new television series. Only to have that brand new series only get a 37% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Boo. But I think Apple and Apple TV Plus has a much bigger play in mind. They know that they don't have to appeal to everyone. The shows they make do not have to hit 90% plus ratings. And they'd love that, but it's not important. Remember, a show with a 37% rating on Apple on Rotten Tomatoes, that's 37% is a lot of people. Like around 7 million people might be really digging that show and want more content like that. 7 million. The third lesson that I think Apple TV Plus brings to podcasters is one of diversification, because the tastes of the audience is varied and sometimes changes on a whim. I mean, who knew we'd all fall in love with a show about a show about soccer that really isn't about soccer, right? Or that it would be from the same exact company that had the guts to adapt one of the most epic science fiction epics of all time. See, these shows that they're making don't have to be a hit with the entire subscriber base, although some of them are much more likely to be so than others. I just gave you 2 very vast extremes. Nor do all the shows even need to appear to be appealing to everyone. They don't need to try and entice everyone into them. Now, that's going to be harder for you as a podcaster to amplify, especially if you don't produce multiple shows. But you might be able to take this lesson to your promotional efforts. Where else can you create content, not necessarily podcast content, but where else can you create that serves a subset of your audience? Or maybe even finds you a new audience, which could come into your podcasting world. The fourth thing I think that podcasters can learn from Apple TV Plus is to play to your strengths. We may not agree on the quality of the shows or what we like and dislike on a service like Apple TV Plus, but one thing we can all probably agree on is that the shows, specifically on Apple TV Plus, look amazing. And that's because Apple is really known for the company's attention to design and to detail. And yes, I understand a lot of that has been eroded recently. Think Butterfly Keyboard, think the entire Apple Podcast app, blah. But design and looking great is still a big part of Apple's brand. So their shows, the shows they produce on Apple TV Plus, their flagship OTT product, they're gorgeous. You know they're going to look great. They may not necessarily be what you want, but man, they're going to please your eyes. So for you, podcaster, know what it is you're great at, and then lean into that with everything you do. You might not be able to get every single aspect of podcasting right that appeals to everyone, but you can consistently hit a note and become known for that. And that in itself will help you build your following. Now look, I don't have any special insight into an actual playbook from Apple TV, what they're pulling from. I imagine the way they judge a show is completely different than what I'm telling to you about, right? That's fine. But hopefully some of these ideas resonated with you, or at least gave you a new perspective on what your future in podcasting might look like. Let's do a quick boostergram.
Now it's time for the Boostergram Corner.
Boostergram Corner.
I don't know a thing about crypto.
Reverend Eric used PayPal to say the following: "Thank you for podcast pontifications. It has been helpful and given me plenty to think about." Well, Reverend Eric, you are quite welcome. I appreciate your support. And if you, like Reverend Eric, also get value from the show, please consider returning some of that value by going to podcastpontifications.com/value for value and lending me your support. 2 more episodes to go before I go on my long winter's nap. So with that, I shall be back tomorrow with yet another podcast, Pontifications. Cheers!